Hi all, welcome back to more Labyrinth, the extended campaign, playing solo. This is part 4, so next again date. And I left things a bit last night, just a bit, sort of, didn't want to step any further here, because I feel like I might be just not quite grasping everything here. Now, I had a read through the rules again today, and really just the solitaire rules from the New Awakening bot. Just read over them again. Think I've got a better sort of take on things, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so hang on a second though. Couple of things just to talk about quickly. I think I spoke about this, didn't I? Yeah, no, I did. The guy, and apparently this guy is the guy that designed the app or automated bot or whatever you want to call it. I guess I call it an app because I think it goes on your tablet and your phone and whatever. Whether that's the right title for it. Kurt, his name is. So I didn't know it was him, but it was him that was asking the question about when the jihadist bot uses reserves. Does it get to do... Well, hang on. I'll read the question, Grant. When using the Awakening bots, how are reserve ops handled during radicalization? Now, he is just saying during radicalization here. I didn't pick up on that, but I don't think there's any difference between them using it in radicalization or just using it for the operation that they're carrying out. I think it says the same. It says use up to 3 points. I mean, I made a mistake with that and gave them four ops in one of the plays that I made in the previous attempt here. But I think it says the same. But anyway, it carries on. If the bot has 2 ops in reserve but only spends 1 for radicalization in a given turn, does it lose the other ops? And then he's got the rules. But I mean, I told you that I responded to that and said that there's no mention, he says that there's no mention of ignoring the rule in 6.3.3.1, which is the rule that says when you use a reserve, and this is the base rule, this is not anything to do with solo, a side may expend all its reserves back to 0 to add that value, 1 or 2, to a card. I mean, it doesn't say that you can just spend 1 of your reserves in that, and I was definitely not under that impression. However, it was. So I said that. I said I can't give you an official, but I'm afraid my take was like you say. It doesn't say that in the rules, so that if he spends a reserve, better put this back before I think they've got reserves. If he just wants to spend 1 reserve, it goes like that. I mean, if we want to spend 1 reserve, we go like that. There's nothing to say that the bot gets, and don't get me wrong, the bot gets to keep his reserves from turn to turn, so that's a cheat, if you like. No, it's not a cheat, but that's something that is in the rules for the bot. Fair enough. If it was in the rules for the bot, but I can't see it, and that was the response was from EV. He said no, as in the answer to the question was no. The bot doesn't have to use all its reserves up, and his proof of that is pretty decent proof, but not conclusive as we could move on a bit. But he references the bot versus bot example in the Awakening rules. Jihadist action phase phase 4, card 2. So it's this one here. It's this example I play in the book. It's on page 14 there. So not reading it all, but just from there, just try and imagine that you've read the rest and you understand what's going on. It says, therefore, using the 2 ops of Russian aid, which is the card that he played. So he's using the 2 ops from this card, rather than read it all. I don't want to read it all. So using the 2 ops and another point from the jihadist reserves. Okay. Now, earlier on in the playthrough, he sets his reserves at 2. He's got 2 points in reserves, but you'll see that in a second. So he uses the 2 ops, uses the reserve of 1. It does say another point from the reserves. Then he rolls 3 dice for a recruit operation in Pakistan. The result is 1, 4 and 6, so hand places 1 sail from the track in Pakistan. He then moves jihadist reserves from 2 to 1. So that's in there, it's saying that if they were sitting at 2 and they play a 2 ops card, they're going to use one of the ops to get 3 ops, and that's going to stay there like that. We can't do that either. There is, however, nothing in the rules. Basically, my reply to that was that, yes, indeed, the example shows this to be true, this to be so. Is this mentioned in clarity in the rules? Do you feel? I said, please feel free to reference a rule. Kurt just replies back to that guy that said no, showed the example and said thank you. Tim chimes in where the problem is that we've seen plenty of examples before of play that contain rules errors. Rules should never be hidden in examples. And then I followed up with, that's a good point. I'd be happy enough to accept it if it were written in the rules. Then you're not telling, that's quite a big point. And the fact that it does make a big point is saying, look, at the end of a turn, if the bot still has 1 or 2 reserves, he gets to keep them. If we end up at the end of the turn with 1 or 2 reserves, they go back to 0. It specifically says that in the rules. So, if he was allowed to only spend 1, if he was allowed to cheat that way as well, it should be written in the rules, shouldn't it? That's not, so, but interestingly, I think Jean had picked up on that question as well, because the guy just asked the question last night, and he sent me a little message last night as well, just before I was going to bed, saying that he's sent off whether it's email, message or something to it's the designer of the Awakening game though, so not specifically I think he says getting a hold of the solo designer might be not so easy. So he sent Trevor Bender 2 or 3 questions. Hope you don't mind me saying that, Jean. It's all to do with the game. There's nothing really private about it. I'll not go into the questions. I'll let you come back with that. However, when he seen this was one of the questions he asked. So hopefully we can get a bit confirmation on that. Tim had mentioned to me that the reason the automated bot guy was asking the question, but somebody had challenged how his bot was working, and it was doing something different to what it should be, or he wasn't sure about that himself. Okay, and the other thing, let me read Jean's message to me from last night. No, not that one. Just goat. Hang on. Oh, that's going to take me back. Right, pause now. Hang on. Yeah, he said he was going to try and get. It's Adam Zam, ZAHM, is the bot designer. The bot as in the bot, the Awakening bot, not the automated thing. He doesn't know how to reach him, so he sent 3 questions to Trevor Bender. Apparently Trevor's pretty supportive when it comes to questions sent. I wish these guys might frequent the forums here, but I know they've got other things they're getting on with and whatever. But we're kind of stuck with a few things that we could do with somebody coming along. And I thank Jean for that, and let me know if you get anything. And I says I'm going to carry on with another attempt at the game. So, he said here, and I've replied to this, but he's never come back to me. So, he says, just don't forget that you're supposed to reach at least 6 good resources at the end of the first deck to keep playing. If you don't, you'll have to get the bot agreement to keep playing. And I'm referring to the rule you mentioned in your very first part. And I was like, I looked back on that and I thought, oh, wait a minute, yeah, you could be right, but something didn't sit well with me in that. So what he's saying there is, if I don't get at least 6 good resources by the end the first deck ends, and we move on to the second deck, I'm then lost the game. But I wrote back to him with that I didn't read it that way at all. So I'm not sure. Maybe he'll come back with something else. I didn't read that. it says that for a one deck game, and that's at 6. Yeah, see, one deck solo minimum good for US win. But if we're playing a 3 deck game, my take on it, John, was that there's nothing happens at the end of deck 1. Because the whole point of this is to try and see the whole game. However, the agreement that he came to was this optional, which I was a bit confused about, and I think it was Tim says this was if you were playing with another player, it's not specifically solo. If both players agree at the beginning of the scenario, play can continue even after one player has achieved a level of victory, so the full game can be experienced. But, man, don't get me wrong, the bot or myself could win the game outright and only get through that one deck. It is possible. Yeah, it is possible. If we would need to get, 12? They would need to get 6 Islamic resources, and that would actually end the game. But I was a bit worried about that, and then when I seen that, I thought, we can carry on by just agreeing to this. But Tim was pointing out, this is an agreement between... But there's nothing to say that, look, if the jihadist player got to 6 resources and they were winning the game and I was like sort of just at the end of the first deck and wanted to see the new deck, I would maybe just carry on playing. Maybe I wouldn't, but anyway, I'll have a look at that again, John, and if I'm misinterpreting things there, please let me know again. But I don't think I need to have 6 good resources if I'm playing a 3 deck game. I think I'll only need to have that to win a 1 deck game if none of the other win conditions have been... I think what he's suggesting is I need to have that to move on to the second deck. But that's not how I interpret it. But you know what? I've got a lot of things wrong in this game up to now, so it could be. But I'm guessing it will come back with something. Yeah, and then the other thing that he forgot to tell me, there's... And hang on, I think it's written in here. When I was looking through the example of play, I think it's written in there somewhere. Yeah, it is. But it was, to be honest, I seen this after John had mentioned it to me. Event card backgrounds scheduled to be published separately in C3I number 30. So it's events of the cards, and he's sent me the link, and apparently it's on GMT's website. That it gives that, and it surprised me that for the Awakening that Trevor hadn't done a description of all the events when he had done a thorough description in the Forever War, and then there was a more briefer one in the original game, which I don't know who done that. It was maybe Volko Runke himself that done that, but obviously Trevor's was a designer of both the Awakening and the Forever War, and it was a little surprising, but. They've just been done separately. So I'll get them downloaded on my tablet when we get there, and we can go through the events as well. I've had 2 comments now that said that they like the fact that I'm going through the events. I don't want to go through every single card, but if the event gets played, let's just have a look at it. Okay, so what's next? Right, I want to say the only last thing is for the question that I put out there last night. And it was John that replied to it. That's the only reply I've had. And it's not that I'm not thinking. It's, to be honest, he makes some sense with the reply. So my question is, so I have 2 ops to use for radicalization. The first bullet that applies is, right, we'll bring out, what am I looking at? I want the rule book, radicalization. Well, I could just use the chart maybe. So the first bullet that applies is, actually, you know what? Does that word it any differently? Actually, the wording in that could back up his reply to this as well. Although I think what he's said is probably good enough for me. Okay, let's just look at it in the rulebook, and I'll compare it to what's on the playrate there. So the first one that applies is the one that we are trying to do. Now, just getting back to where we are, because this is relevant to where we are in the game. This is the next step. I've got 2 ops left. One op got used as an operation to do a minor jihad in Afghanistan, was it? Yes. It failed, it went back to the track. Only had one cell, so it could only do one. There's no other places that could do minor jihad, or I would have moved on to there. And I think that's right. I think that's what you do. You move on. You're wanting to do just one operation. It's got to be minor jihad. And you want to do it in the priority country. If you can do it 3 times in there, you do it 3 times. If you can only do it twice in there, and then you can do it once elsewhere, and you've got 3 ops, you do that. You do them all. That's. I'm starting to understand that. I mean, whether I should have completely grasped that before, there's little other bits that I'm wanting to speak about just to make sure that I'm getting them right. So, and then if you can't do any more minor jihad, you don't come back to flowcharts and move on to the next thing to do, because you've done your operation. The bot doesn't get to, I mean, what it then does is go on to this radicalization, which does a bit of plotting, a bit of travelling, a bit of recruiting. It does a bit of everything, really. It gets to cheat a bit more. But remember, it's a bot, it's not got this wonderful human brain that I've got, you know. So yeah, right. So we've got 2 ops left, and we've moved on to radicalization, and I hadn't done anything with the radicalization, and this is where I started getting a bit worried that I might be stepping out over a line here somewhere. So the first one that matters: if US posture is hard and there is no global war on terror relations penalty, travel to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible, 1 cell each, choosing the origin first. Okay, so my question is, do I use both ops? I've got 2 ops left. Do I use both ops to carry out this radicalization, or do I use the first op and then recheck that? So I use the first op, and let's just say we go to Caucasus, right? Central Asia to Caucasus. And whether it fails, remember, another one that I blundered, if the travel fails or succeeds, we still test the posture of Caucasus. So even if the travel fails, no, it can't fail, Grant. Can't fail, it's adjacent, and that's why they're doing it that way. So it wouldn't fail, but we still test the posture. Now, if that posture was soft, this is what happens. That goes to that. Global War on Terror relations penalty of -1. Because they're on soft 1 and we're still hard. So it's a -1 penalty. I'm going to put that back in case I forget. So my question is, I've used that 1 ops to do that. Do I then now come back and have a look at this and say, oh, US posture's hard, but there is a global war on terror penalty. Let's move on to the next one. So you can see that, and you need to know that question, You need to know the answer to that. Or, you know, and I'm not 100% sure, but John's reply was really good. If the condition does now not apply, move on to the next bullet. Yeah, that was my question. So he replied, have you started a new playthrough already? Yeah, I have. Yeah. This is part 4 already. And no mistakes that have been mentioned. Mind you, I think I've only got part 1 and 2 out there. And part 1 was a whole, pretty much lot of nothing really, wasn't it? So yeah, I'm watching through part 3 just now. So, okay. And this is where we could get, mistakes could come in if I get things wrong here. That's why I'm wanting to take my time and get it right. So he says, I would use both ops for the travel. He says, for the player, when you do a travel operation, you're supposed to select all destinations before any roll, so you can't see if the first one fails and change your plans accordingly. Okay. So that's for the player. We know that main bots could be doing things different. The other thing is that it's going to try and travel adjacent here with these 2 ops. If I'm using both of them for the travel, they're both going to be adjacent travels, I think. So they're both going to be automatic and succeed. However, it's not the travel that the bot's not trying to succeed with a travel, is it? As been pointed out, even if it fails, it's going to do its job here. Because its job is to go to the Caucasus or wherever, test it, and because it's, what is it? It's 1 to 4, 1 to 4 it's soft, 5 and 6. So it's two-thirds of a chance it's going to be soft. And then it's going to do this, hit this. Right, okay, fair enough. What he's saying is that's what the player has to do, whatever. He says, knowing that the bot has some advantages compared to us humans, maybe the above is not relevant though. Right, okay, like I just said, maybe the bot, so he's noting that as well, which is fair enough. But this is a kind of interesting part. He says, in addition, if it was the other option, as in the way I'm saying, we do one, then if the penalty comes in, we move on to the next step. He says, if it was to be that, and he quotes, to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible, and even the one cell each, but then to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible. So, like he says, there would be no need to mention that since you would always just travel to one and then repeat if the condition remained unchanged. He does say, no, I did not try this with a bot to see how it was implemented. So that's a fair point. It doesn't need to have the words there. Travel to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible, because if it didn't say that, and we travelled once and then came back to look at this again, it's no need to say that, is it? So that does sort of sway it towards that. I think it's a shame, this, because it might, I'm not sure John's completely 100% sure about it as well, but that's the only response I got. I'm like, and not that I don't appreciate your response, John. I'm sure you know that I just want to be doing it right. Just looking at the difference in the wording there, I thought it might look slightly different. What does it say here? Furious hard and no global war on terror releases penalty. Travel to unmarked non-Muslims. Choose as many destinations as possible. See, that's also suggesting, that also backs up your thoughts there, John, I think. It doesn't say that in there, but it's travel to as many unmarked. Isn't it just the same, Grant? Well, choose as many destinations as possible, it's got in brackets. Suggest that you do this as much as you can. Now, if there was only one unmarked non-Muslim country left on the map, we would only be able to use one of the ops, right? The last time I played it as well, I'm sure I did this, and I travelled as much as I could with the ops that I had. Nobody came along and challenged it, I don't believe. So, I think we're going to go with that. Yeah. So we're going to do we're going to use the two ops if we can. We're not going to do one, then check if there's a penalty. We're going to do it both. I can't remember if I've done it that way or not before, though. I seem to remember getting to this and coming to this and saying, right, that doesn't apply anymore. Let's move down. But I think it was in between cards. Although I'm not feeling 100% sure about that. So, yeah, I do think both the wordings, the one that John's highlighted in the rule book, travel to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible, one cell each, choosing the origin first, using travel from priorities. And then also in the player aid there, choose as many destinations as possible. So if it says choose as many as possible, and you're allowed to do one at a time, why would it say that? Yeah, you're right. It must be. Because it wouldn't need to be using their words. You can see how tricky these things can be, though. It doesn't feel... I really do feel like there should have been more explanation of this. I haven't went on to BGG and looked at radicalization, and you know what? That might be worth a look. Generally you do go and have a look on BGG when you're stumped with things, Grant. Maybe I should just put in that word. Well, that was actually the title of my question, because I always feel like you should title your question so that somebody can search. What's somebody going to search for? What word are they going to use to search for this question that they're trying to ask? I think radicalization is, sometimes you don't get it spot on, and sometimes you've got to use more words than you need. But when you want to search for a question that's out there that might be answered, I'm sure you know what I'm trying to say. Let's have a quick look at that then, and I know that's been 25 minutes in, and I'll just to use all blithering away about this and the next thing. Was there anything? I don't think there was anything else. Something in the back of my mind saying that there might be, but right. Well, we're still, and this is our last card as well. Yeah, so we're at near the end of the turn. We've got one of these is going to trigger, but it's got 2 ops left to do for the radicalization, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do what we said. We're going to travel to, well, actually there is a cell possible here as well that could travel to Thailand, because it does say to find the, now hold on, no, this was a thing. I haven't watched back last night's part as well. I maybe should have done, because this is the other thing I wanted to start querying, but because what worried me was what Jean mentioned in my previous playthrough about when you've got a country. See, when you select a country to do an operation, I want to say that that's it set in stone. If you can't do it anymore in that country, and there's another country you can do it, and like just what we said here, there was a minor jihad available in there. The operation we wanted to do was minor jihad. Where's the priority? The priority was Afghanistan, right? Let's just say we had 2 cells in Syria as well, right? And 1 cell in Afghanistan, and we've got a minor jihad. We check the priorities. It comes up to be, I don't know if it would be Afghanistan or not. I'm only just saying, right? So we then do the 1 roll in Afghanistan. We've got 2 ops left. Then it fails. It goes back to the track, or it succeeds. Whatever. We've still got 2 ops left. We then do 2 attempts with a minor jihad in Syria. So you're still sticking with the 1 operation, but you're looking at different countries. When it comes to traveling, this is why this is what worries me a little bit. If I'm to select a travel to destination, I think I've got to get in my head that everything has to travel to that destination. I can't then suddenly say, right, I've travelled 1 cell to that destination. I can't travel anymore to that destination. Well, that wouldn't make sense, would it? Yeah. And what about travelling from them? Because actually we're going to have this situation right now, right? We've got this that could travel to here, and remember, and these that could travel to there. And the first priority to travel from is, can you travel from and reach an adjacent country that meets, that meets what you're after. What are we doing? Right, hold on. Yeah, because the radicalization is to travel to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible, right? So, and then, I should have read on. And it says, choosing the origin first. The origin's where it's coming from. Using the travel from priorities of the OP-P. The OP-P is the flowchart, right? So, we come here. We've got 2 countries that could travel from, right? So then we look here, and they say, can they, and remember we're looking for an unmarked non-Muslim country. Then we say, right, can we travel from to an adjacent, I know I'm saying 2 there, but can we travel from an adjacent country to reach that non-Muslim unmarked country? Yes, we can there, and yes, we can there. In fact, they've got China, not Iran, Caucasus and Russia as well. They're all adjacent. So yes and yes, right? So, I might as well just carry on with this. This is going to tell me where the first cell is going to travel from. But what worries me then is, right, let's just see. Yeah, it's not going to come up here. It's not going to come up, right? So hang on. Travel from adjacent. Yes. So now we need to go through the travel from. Have we not already done this? No, yeah, well, I think we might have done actually, because travel from, the first one is not destination. That means it's not going to travel from to its own destination. And you would do that to put a cell to sleep, you know, an active cell back to sleeper. So it is something that bot might do, but no. Islamist rule. Travel from, remember. No, none of them is Islamist rule. Poor then, fair then, good. Right, we've found our winner then. So our winner's Central Asia, because Philippines is fair, right? So, this is... hang on. Right, I was dragged away there for a bit. And then I remembered I was going to go and look up some BGG stuff for radicalization, and I started to do that, and then I thought, I can't really be bothered now. So, I maybe should look more into it. I don't know. I mean, the question I've asked, if the question was out there, I'd like to think somebody might have referenced that, or... I don't know. A couple of comments that Tim's just mentioned. This will be about part 2. One, this was the dodgy one that I almost went off and started making errors on, and I'm going to have to stop myself from doing this, because I've seen myself, I caught myself once doing it. We've came to recruit, I think, and we're coming here to recruit and travel too. And we got to recruit from the poor Muslim thing, and we had 2 options. We had Central Asia and Afghanistan as 2 possible... It was recruiting, wasn't it? Was it recruiting? Oh, God. You know what? I came to this between the 2, and they're both poor Muslim of 1 to 4 more cells and troops. And what I said was, right, they're both that, so I moved on. That's not what you do. When you've got the box, I suppose these are kind of green in a way. I would never have called them green, but the rules, where does it mention the green boxes? Oh, you know what, I'm not going to... I want to just get a big gameplay. I had a long day at work, up really early this morning, and just wanted to try to chill out a bit, stressing myself out here a bit. Anyway, I suppose, I thought green boxes, where's the green boxes about? But it means these. And so, when you... No, I probably should find that, because it's important to what I'm actually talking about here. Hang on. Right, 12.4.2. I just went and searched for green on the on the rules online. 12.4.2. Here. Within a green op flowchart box. So after an operation type has been selected using the, in fact, I think it's is it not up here as well? Oh, okay, just stick with that one. So after an operation type has been selected using the EVO, which is the events or operations flowchart, use the OP-P flowcharts, which is the operations priorities flowchart, to select the target country or countries. Within a green OP-P flowchart box, if multiple possibilities exist, use the appropriate column of the priorities table top to bottom, select among them. Right? Okay, so you can see that there's definitely white boxes there. These must be green, right? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, okay. They're green. Let's just say that they're green. I was confused at first about what they were. So whenever we come to one of them, right, and we say yes to one of them, and there's more than one of the yes, it's like, yes, we've got 2 occurrences of this. There's 2 countries that match this. We don't move on. We then come down to the priorities table. And I should know that, and I made the mistake of it. I got away with it this time because we went there, and there, and they were both poor Muslim. So then I got to here, and then I come down here, so I got away with that. But if I hadn't, for one reason, one of them had been fair Muslim there, that would have been wrong. Because then it should have been this. This is where we should have stopped and not went further through. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up again. Bringing it up, Tim, because I've got to get out of the habit of that. The other one you talked about was 5.2.2. I mentioned there's cards that say last action phase. And I thought the card says the US last action phase on that card, though, Tim, when I think about it. I mean, it mustn't have done, because you're... where is the card? Is that the one that got removed? No, there's a couple of them got removed, though, Grant. No. Yeah, let's bring that card out as well, because he mentioned something about that. No, it doesn't say the US action phase. It says play if US disrupted this or last action phase. The thing is, can the US disrupt in the jihadist player's action phase? I don't know, but hold on. He does reference the rule, and it explains it in this rule, apparently. 5.2.2, I think we said. Action phases. So, in the first action phase, right, the note down the bottom. The card text last action phase during the US phase refers to the preceding jihadist phase, and vice versa, even if in the previous turn. So you need to watch for that if you got it in that turn. Okay. So if it says last action phase and we're in the jihadist phase, it's the US phase. And remember, it usually says this or last action phase. Okay, so that was wrong. I thought it was our last action phase, so I jumped past even further. Fortunately, it didn't matter there, but again, need to watch that. This was another thing I mentioned. I was confused about this card. I mean, so you know what? Read the comment on YouTube. I'm not going to go into it. I've not got it in front of me right now. But I think what I was saying, well, I asked back, I said, so that it does mean that you can do this regime change without the... And it's when I was typing out the words, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, because remember, some events break the rules, Grant. So this doesn't need to... It needs to be Iraqi adversary, but it doesn't need to be Islamist rule. So I think his example was if troops were in there... Oh, I can't remember. It was something about your prestige going to 1 or something, because there was troops in there and it was Islamist rule or something. I can't remember. But anyway, I think the case is there that you know, it doesn't need to be... it could just be poor... Could be poor adversary as it is right now, and I think we can play this card to regime change. What should move the poor to ally, and it'll do the other things that regime change do. I mean, some of them are bad. The prestige rule's one of the bad ones, isn't it? Was that what he was meaning, if our prestige went down to 1? You can't get any lower than 1, so you might get lucky and your prestige might go up. It might have been something like that. Yeah, I'll maybe look more into that. But thanks for your comments, Tim. Okay. Right, no, I'm just going to carry on. Right, so, before I go interrupted there, and without going looking up things, I was talking about the difference between these two. We've decided that that's the travel from, and yeah, we went through the priorities flow chart, and we ended at poorer than fairer than good, didn't we? Under travel from. So that's where it's going to travel from. But let's just say here, yeah, this is a question I want to leave. Let's see if I can get this out here. Right, let's just say that Russia's marked already, Caucasus is marked, China's not. Right. I think I know what the answer is, because I think this is what Jean had said to me this time. So China's not marked, Russia and Caucasus are. So the only adjacent non-Muslim country that's not marked to Central Asia is China, right? Let's just imagine that, right? I'll try and take them out the equation. There we go. And this is unmarked adjacent to the Philippines. Right, we've went through, and the priority to travel from is Central Asia. So we've got two ops. So what do we do here? Do we do this travel to here automatically, test the country, right? That uses up one op. So I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's fine. Now, where do we now go with our second ops? And I think this is what John had said to me, was that I now want to come here to the Philippines and travel adjacent because it's automatic. You might say, if you were the bot player right now, that maybe be what you would do. But I don't know. I don't know the whole strategies in the game. That might not be the case. But I know travel's going to succeed. But remember, to be honest, the bot its main purpose of this travel isn't really to succeed at the actual travel, it's to mess about with the global war on terror relations penalty, to get that as a penalty, isn't it? So I think right now is what should actually happen. That's the first point. Now the second point, because we set it in and the priority to travel from was Central Asia, I think we go back to Central Asia and we travel from there again. And okay, we don't have an adjacent country. Yeah, this is what I done, wasn't it? And I wonder if I can find that comment. It's going to be a bit back, eh? So I think we then go back there, and now we have no adjacent countries to travel to, but that doesn't matter. We're still going to travel from there, and we're going to now look at a travel to destination that's not adjacent, find out what the priority one is of that, and travel to it. Right? Is that right? So let's just say we travel there, and let's just say, for instance, India was the next priority to travel to, right? So the second ops point would attempt to travel to India. Now, we need to roll a 1 on the dice. Let's just say we failed. This would go back to the track. India would still get tested, though, because it was a failed travel, right? That's what I think is what should happen. Although, what I thought would happen is just what I've said. This would travel to here, and now because Central Asia has no other non-Muslim adjacent countries that are unmarked, I would then have come to here and say, well, this is adjacent, unmarked, and I'm going to use the second point to do that. That is wrong, isn't it? That's wrong. It feels wrong to me now, although I think at the time when I done it, I felt like it was sort of right, because I wanted to look at adjacency, you know? I mean, it does, the priority there is to travel from adjacent. We've got that. That's set in stone. We then come here, we've found our target, poor then fair then good, which is Central Asia. We now then don't go travel adjacent, and because, yeah, we then don't go then back to fair. If there was only one cell there, then yes. If there was only one cell in Central Asia, we would come and use the other point to travel from the Philippines to Thailand. I think that's right. Okay, let me know if I'm getting that wrong then. Okay, and I'm just going to move on. I was still thinking about going and looking for the bit that you brought that up, but that sounds like how it should work. Right, so we know we're going to travel from Central Asia, right? But we do have more than China. We've got Russia, Caucasus, China. So this is where we come down to travel to. And remember, that is our travel from. It's not going to change. Well, it would change if there was only one cell in there. And to be honest, is that right? If there was only one cell there, and we had two ops, and this one travelled to China, shall we say, would it be right that I do come and use this for the travel? Well, let's just also say that China tested soft, and we've got the global war and terror relations penalty. Am I still in the travel section? Am I still in that bit that we want to travel? Because he said travel to as many unmarked, remember. You do it all at once. It doesn't matter if the global war and terror. In fact, probably should get in the habit of doing, right, let's travel first to the countries. Let's do this. Right, let's just say there was only one cell here. That goes to China. I'm not going to test it yet. That goes to Thailand. Right, let's test them both. Soft, it's -2, or soft, hard, and it goes back. I mean, I don't know. I think that's a worry to me if it went soft. But what if the first one tests hard? That's good for me. So it's then not going to. Well, we know it's not going to stop there. It's definitely going to do the other one. But okay. I'm getting a bit worked up, Grant. Come on, calm down. Okay, so travel to from Central Asia. Yes, we come back here, don't we? I think so. Yeah. And it has to be an unmarked non-Muslim country. Because that is set in stone. That's a radicalization. So, doesn't apply. Doesn't apply. It's got to be non-Muslim. So, non-Muslim. Yeah, this isn't helping us, is it? So, non-Muslim. Yeah, I think we're going to struggle to find something here, aren't we? Oh, poor then, fair then, good. Because remember, there's lots of non-Muslim good countries, but there are a few fair. Oh, and remember, we've got this poor one. Now, hang on. But hold on. Although we're travelling from Central Asia, we've got to go adjacent first, haven't we? Well, see, I guess this is what I'm asking. That's complicated. I don't think it is complicated. I think it's just me. So, adjacent if we were travelling to, right? Not Islamist rule, Pakistan. Remember, it's a non-Muslim country here we're going. Baziz regime, that's a Muslim country. Syria, Iran, Syria, US. Right, so US, but US is marked. It's marked hard from the beginning of the game, right? Poor then fair then good. Okay, so right now, we're travelling from there, but surely it still has to be adjacent. Why am I? Because obviously we've got the poor Nigeria that's non-Muslim. It's only one that's on the map, but that is poor then fair then good, but it's not adjacent. So, no, it clearly has to be an adjacent country, Grant, doesn't it? I don't know why I'm stopping with that. I think it's because of the other thing about if there was only one adjacent country left for this and we're moving to, then I reckon one would go to China and the other one would attempt to actually go to Nigeria, wouldn't it? Because it's poor. It would be the next in line. But surely it's between the three. That's what we done the last time. Let me just think this through again. I'm sitting staring at this trying to... I'm pretty knackered. My alarm was set for 1:50 this morning or something for what? Just to get that one out there for you. Ridiculous time to try and get up out of your bed. Anyway, right, so going back to this travel to as many unmarked non-Muslim countries as possible. So we know that they've got to be non-Muslim, they've got to be unmarked, right? We know they've got to be that. Choosing the origin first, using travel from priorities on the P, which is here. Travel from priorities are adjacent. So if we had a sale in Yemen right now, this would not be considered in this calculation because it's not got a non-Muslim unmarked country adjacent to it. So that's why our Central Asia and Philippines are selected to start with. I guess I'm just worried now that's now not important. You know? It's now not important. It's now. Could I be right in saying that this is now reset? That feels wrong, that though. And all we're now doing. No, surely not. I am having difficulty with this. No, Grant. No, yeah, I know why. Because I'm looking at travel to now, am I not? Travel from is set in to be that. And it's set in to be Central Asia. That's it set. But now I come to Central Asia, I've done this to do the travel where it's going to go to. Am I still thinking adjacent? I mean, I feel like I should be, but now I'm starting to wonder if that's off the table now. And I'm just looking through priorities for travelling to. And to be honest, the first priority is poor, then fair, then good. And Nigeria down here is poor. It's not adjacent, but it's poor. Oh dear. I mean, I want to say the last time I'd done this, I never considered Nigeria. I know we made a mistake with Nigeria and we should have went there eventually, but I'm sure I went adjacent as much as I could. And I don't think anybody challenged that. The only challenge I got was the time that I think I wanted to go somewhere else that was adjacent and should have started. I think that's the one I'm just trying to work out. But, God. Maybe I need to come back to this tomorrow. Well, I've not even done anything. We've not even spent 51 minutes and I've not even done anything. Okay. I sort of feel like that might be right, you know? I mean, John quite clearly told me that this time that when I went to sell in non-Muslim and I went to plot and then I come across here to plot thinking I had to plot in a non-Muslim country, he says, no, you reset that. And I understand that now. Could it be when you come here though, you reset that as well? So when I get travel from adjacent and we look through and find the adjacent country and we come to Central Asia, then we move on to where it's going to travel to. Does this get wiped out, the adjacent part? If that happens, then clearly the priority is that we attempt to travel to Nigeria. And I'm starting to wonder if that's right. There's no way I thought that was the case when I sat down. I thought this is quite simple, but there's a few things bothering me. And there's no way I thought that I was going to possibly be trying to travel to Nigeria. I thought China, Caucasus, Russia. In fact, is Russia not one of the priorities? Well, to be honest, Russia is the next one in line because we've got poor, then fair, then good. And then you've got highest resources, but they don't have resources. And then the next one is Russia. So it's quite high up there. But Russia's adjacent. Okay, so it covers that one, but poor, then fair, then good comes before that Russia, and poor is here. If we're still going by adjacency, then fair would come next, so it wouldn't break it down because we still have China, Caucasus, Russia, and then the next priority would be Russia. So that's the first point we travel to automatically, but. I'm stuck with this. But Grant, it's got to travel from, it's got to be adjacent. Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. That's, oh God. Okay, stop. I need to know this for sure. I feel like I don't want to carry on still, because I could quite easily be getting this wrong. I'm gonna have to go and try and ask this question. I didn't have any problem with this when I've done it before though. Okay, I found the very first time in the previous playthrough, it was part 16 of the, so it'll be the one deck solo. And it's, I don't know where it is, but this is where Jean made the comment. Unfortunately, the timestamp was ahead of when I started going through the procedure. So what I've got is, I've got cells in Pakistan and I've got a cell in Iran. And we're doing the radicalisation with 2 points. Got one cell there, I've got half a dozen cells here. Iran is adjacent to Caucasus, and in Pakistan is adjacent to India. I select the travel from adjacent, and I think that is still set in stone. He never, well, what happens, what he does say here is, right, so that's where we're travelling from. We go through the priorities of travelling from, and we end up with Iran to be the priority. Now, we've got 2 ops and there's only 1 cell there, right? So clearly, Iran moves to the Caucasus adjacent. I've still got 1 op left. I then look at the other priority, which was Pakistan, and move one of the cells from there to India. Nobody says that was wrong. I've done it that way. What I was talking about, or what Jean came up with, I think, whether I asked this question in the video or not, but he says that if Pakistan was a priority over Iran, it's got 6 cells, right? Or how many cells? It's got more than 2 anyway, right? It's got more than 1 because it was 2 ops, right? So what he's saying is, what he said there was that if Pakistan was prioritised over Iran, the first cell would move to India. We wouldn't then go to Iran to move that cell because it's adjacent. We would stay in Pakistan, and the other cell, the other ops point, would use one of these cells to attempt to travel to somewhere else that clearly wasn't adjacent. So, okay. That tells me that the adjacent bit does need to be the initial, it's still initial thought, isn't it? Because if I rewind that back just now to where I am, and it was between Iran and Pakistan, and it wouldn't matter which one we picked, but the travel to would still come to poor then fair then good and select Nigeria. And that was never suggested. So the adjacency is still in place right now. I'm finding that tricky to soak in because this issue that I had here. When I got to plot, I was to plot, but then, hang on, Grant, this isn't an operation. That's what's throwing you. But you know what? These boxes are the same bloody colour. But it can travel from adjacent. It's got the reason they're that colour is because there's multiple choices, Grant. That's what it is. I actually think that, you know what? I actually think that these operation boxes, travel, plot, recruit, minor jihad, I think they should have been a different colour. Because when you come to these, this isn't something that you've got multiple choices. This is telling you to come across here and start looking at the choices that are multiples. I think they should have been a different colour. I think that would have been so much clearer understand. Because I'm getting myself all tied up here a bit. Yeah, okay. So we're sticking by the adjacent. I'm just going to go with this because I want to get this done. I'm sticking by the adjacent. We know it's got to be Central Asia. We know it's got 3 choices: Russia, Caucasus, and China. It's got 2 ops, so it's going to travel 1 cell to, right, poor then fair then good. Remember, Nigeria is not adjacent, so it's not being considered. I'm sticking with that. So it's between Russia, Caucasus, China. They're all fair, so we can't break that down. We then come to here. Highest resource, none of them have resources. Then we come to Russia, right? So Russia's going to be the first one. And then after that doesn't count. If recruit, it's not a recruit. That doesn't count. Same posture as US, well, that doesn't count because we want unmarked. Most cells, that doesn't count. Jason Islamist rule, oil exporter, right. So, Russia's the first one. That cell's going to travel automatically to Russia because it's adjacent. And then we've got 1 ops left from our radicalisation, and we are going to stick by it. We're not going to test this see what it is, and then come back, and if there's a global war on terror, penalty change this. I'm going to stick with what Jean's saying about that. I think it makes sense. And, you know, who knows? If somebody comes along, if the designer comes along and says this is wrong, then so be it. I mean, we kind of need. I need this help now while I'm playing the game, but yeah, it's fair enough. Like I say, I'm not expecting. So what is it? Did we decide what it was? No, the second one is to be randomised between Caucasus and China. As I can't break it down, can I? Is that right? Yeah, adjacent non-Muslim country that's not been marked. Right, so Caucasus is 1, 2, 3. China's 4, 5, 6. Here we go. That's a 3. So Caucasus was 1, 2, 3. So the other cell from Central Asia was going to automatically travel to the Caucasus. And you'll see I've not marked them yet. I thought I'll travel the 2 cells first. They're definitely going to travel because they're not going to fail. That's it. That was the last ops. Right, I'm going to test the posture. Russia first, then Caucasus. 1 to 4 is soft. So Russia, we really want one of these to be hard. Right, for Russia, 1 to 4, that's soft. Right, the Caucasus, and that's soft as well. This game's not going as well as the last one did. Even though I was making blunders. But, I mean, to be honest, a lot of the blunders, I think, were not helping me out. But right, so both Russia and Caucasus are soft. Right, please let me know if any of that's wrong. I'm sure you will, but or even if you think some of it might be wrong. So 2 countries went soft. So this is going to flip over, and soft is going to go boom, boom. So now we have got a global war on terror penalty of -2. And that was what my question was. If we had resolved that first one in Russia and it went there, you know, I was thinking maybe then we skip by on to the next step. I don't know. I've asked the question out there. Jean was the only one that came along to answer it. He made a good suggestion of what he felt it should be, so I'm going to go with that. Okay. That's no. Let's. I'm saying finish the turn. This is. Well, you should be able to finish the turn, Grant. Yeah, because I might not actually be able to hit record again because I think I've spent that much time faffing about here today. Right, let's finish the turn. Right, so that was they only had 1 card left, so it wasn't played for event, so it's just discarded. So back to me. We've got 2 cards left. So yeah, I'm going to skip this one. I'm not going to play this card. I have to play this card. Well, I have to play one of them. So Jamai Islamia plays 2 cells in Indonesia. Yeah, I'm going to use it for the ops, so haven't I? What we're going to do? Maybe. Yeah, Afghanistan's not got any cells now. Okay. Well, let's just play the event first because it's going to happen anyway. So let's have a look at card 68. I knew it was going to be a 1 away across the other side again. Right, 68. Where are we? No, that's 69. There we are. There. Right, sorry, I'm struggling to get balanced out there. Jamia Islamia 2002 to 2005 and then 2009 to question mark. Based in Indonesia and seeking to establish a caliphate over Southeast Asia's Muslim populations, JI Islamic Group emerged spectacularly with a string of terror attacks against tourist and Western targets in Bali and Jakarta from 2002 to 2005. Counter-terrorist successes followed the arrest of GI operations chief in Bali, including the death of chief GI bomb maker Azahari in late 2005. Little was heard from the group until the bombing of a pair of Jakarta hotels in 2009, including a Marriott already once struck by GI in 2003. So yeah, and I mean we're not playing this for the event, but the event's going to trigger. There's nothing we can do about that. So we're playing for the ops, but we'll just get the event out of the way just now. Place 2 cells in Indonesia. So as we can see, the only way of getting away with that would have been if there's no cells in the trap. But there's loads of cells, so 2 cells into Indonesia. Now it hasn't been tested yet as well. So we roll. We're testing. It's just an initial test, so it will be neutral. But 1 to 4 it will be poor. 5 to 6 it will be fair. Oh, we get fair. So that was a little bit of a bonus. This makes it easier for us to do things. And so fair, neutral. That should go up by 1. I don't know if I've maybe. No, I don't think I've done anything recently. Anyways, that's probably right still. Okay, so we've got 2 ops. What are we going to do with our 2 ops? Well, I think my thinking had been to just go for. You've got the global war on terror penalty now, though. So it only gives a -1 to that, doesn't it? Oh no, it doesn't. It gives a -2. Yeah, because it's a -2, it gives a -1 to It's not a lot of ideas. It gives a -1 to something. Is it a prestige roll? No. Yeah, it is. It gives a -1 to prestige roll if we're in penalty, if there's a penalty. But for the War of Ideas, it actually tallies up the whole penalty. So it's -2. So we get a -2. We're shifting to good as well. That's a -3. We are at high. And we've got aid. So we'd be rolling on a -1. So we'd need a 6. That's kind of rubbish. Right, can I disrupt maybe and get another prestige and get to very high with that, possibly? Well, where we got troops and we've got cells? Nowhere. Great. There's no cells beside troops. Okay, can we could try and convert one of these recently soft non-Muslim countries into hard. Now, do you get a penalty for that as well? No. No, posture roll, there's no penalties. So posture rolls are straight up. There's no modifiers to it. Well, unless you're setting US posture. But hold on. If I'm setting US posture, is that not when you've got to do the what is it? Reassessment? I'm looking at the wrong player aid. Yeah. It's a setting US posture +1 to the roll. I mean, a reassessment shifts the posture. Roll a die if setting US posture +1 to the roll. It must be through event if you're going to set the US posture. Yeah, it must be that. I don't think the assessment does that. I mean, that just says shift it from hard to soft or soft to hard. I mean, you need 2 3-value cards for that, so. Right, I think I'm going to have a go at making one of the countries hard then. So you got Philippines down there. I mean, they're all fair, so my 2 ops will do it. The fact that there's cells there, I don't think it really matters. I mean, what else can I really do? Is there anything else clever I can do? I need to get that penalty sorted. I mean, okay, my new hand could maybe suggest that the US go soft. You know, maybe I should consider that. But I suppose right now, I'm right at the end of the turn, so I'm as well having a go at turning one of them hard. Because remember, if one of these go for soft to hard, that goes back to 0. So there is that. Well, let's pick Russia then, because Russia's got possible WMDs in it. So I'm going to try, and it cost me 2 because it's fair. I'm going to try and reset a non-Muslim country's posture. I'm through a war of ideas. Is that right? War of ideas, non-US, non-Muslim country. Oh yeah, that's good as well, because if we get hard, we get +1 to our prestige as well. Okay, good. So and there's the roll. There's no modifiers. Like I say, it's not US posture, but we need a 5 or a 6. So let's do it. Let's do that with our 2 ops, and just roll a 5 or a 6, Grant. Oh, you balloon. Right. Okay. So nothing happened there. No change. No prestige gain. That's you. Right. That card was played. Well, it was played by event. I'm discarding that. This card, I'm going to just discard at the end. It's got mark and remove, but it didn't get played, so it just goes in the discard pile. That's all the cards done. That we just need to go to the end of turn procedure now. I feel like I'm sort of rushing this at the end. That's because I've just been messy again. I'm seriously going to try and get the rest of part 3 watched tonight, and then watch this tomorrow before I get a chance to sit down again and hopefully get this out. So please let me know as soon as you see any problem with this, and I might not have recorded any more, and I can maybe fix anything, because I'm not that confident about everything that went on there, to be honest. And I know it might be hard watching as well. It seemed to get a bit yucky. Okay, so end of turn. -1 funding. Well, that's always a good thing. Although it was at 9, so it's still at 8. It's still in ample. Yeah, somebody had asked me. I think maybe they were getting muddled up. Because the funding marker works different to the troops marker. Although I think he's not played the game for a while and whatever. I think he had asked if the funding was moderate, but it's maybe because he thought there was no cells in the moderate bit, I think. And that's how it works with the troops. It's different, the troops marker. I think he maybe realised that after he had asked anyway, but all good with that one. I mean, you got me worried though when he said, I was like, hey, what happened? Did I miss something? Anyway, -1 prestige if any country's under Islamist rule. That is not. +1 prestige if we were, well, if the world was at 3 and we were the same, hard or soft, then that's nowhere near happening. Remove lapse in events, so I'm going to discard our oil price spike. It just gets discarded, I believe, but you can't bring that one back anyway because it says not an oil price spike card. But deal in your hands and then regime change to tan. So I'll grab that regime change marker to tan first. And then deal new hands, and then we'll wrap this part up. I may well be looking for a couple of 3 ops cards in my hand to maybe go soft. I mean, there's no major threat of Islamist major jihad out there. And remember, you need to be hard to do a regime change. So, and I think I'm alright to carry on with my regime change while I'm soft. I don't think it's when you actually want to do the regime change, put it in play, you need to be hard. It's just that this could be, well, like I said, turning one of these soft countries back to hard would put it back to there, so maybe, I don't know. Right, so new hands, now we are, there's still 5 troops in there, so this marker goes here. It goes the furthest rightmost box that there's less than 5 troops. There's 5 troops in there. There's less than 5 troops in there. So we get 8 cards. This is still in ample. They get 9 cards. Let me get a bunch of cards. So I'll deal them out. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. Oh, that was perfectly 17 cards. I must have drawn off the top there. How about that? Okay, so that's their 9 cards out of 8. I won't have a look at them. Although I'm hoping to yeah, I'm hoping to come back and just get things started, because that was not a lot of gameplay there. Okay, I'll be back soon. Cheers.